A related post module like this can be a great feature to add to your site. Yes, adding related posts can be great for user experience, helping your visitors better find more content that they're interested in. But it can also be good for SEO because related posts help Google better understand your site architecture and content hierarchy. And they can also increase important engagement metrics such as time on site and views per visit. Now, adding related posts to WordPress can be a little bit tricky, even though there are a number of free plugins available. And the reason is that, frankly, none of these plugins are quite perfect. I personally tested about 8 different options for this tutorial, and I hand selected the 3 best ones to demo in this video. I'm also going to show you how to build your own custom-related posts module from scratch using Gutenberg blocks if you need more flexibility and control than perhaps an off-the-rack solution provides. And if you're ready, let's dive into the video. All right, so let's check out some of the plugins available in the repository. We're going to go to Plugins, Add New, and you can just type Related Posts here. And you'll see there are quite a number of plugins. Many of them have good reviews, although you'll find that a lot of them have very similar issues. And we'll get to some of those issues later, but I'm gonna highlight the plugins I'm gonna be using in this video. We're gonna be looking at YARP, yet another related post plugin, which is the most popular related post plugin in the entire repository. We're gonna be looking at contextual related posts. And finally, I did find a new one that I find to be a very easy to use, quick way to get started with related posts with not a lot of configuration and stuff to worry about, but it looks really good out of the box. And that's Visual Modo related posts. I already have all these plugins installed on my site, but I'm going to activate this one and we're going to take a look at what it does. So as soon as I activated this, you can see it's added this related posts page to my dashboard here. And I'm just going to go to the settings for this plugin. And you can see there's not a ton of settings available. You can choose whether to show an image for your related posts, whether to show the post excerpt, and the number of posts you want to display. You can also choose the resolution for your featured image. Typically, medium is a good choice, especially if you're going to be showing them in a side-by-side grid. You can customize the heading. This is going to be at the top of the related post section. I think the default is good enough for me right here. And under colors, you can customize the colors that come along with the display of this plugin. You can also use some custom CSS code if you want to change the look and feel of the output. Now, what you don't find in the settings here is any sort of setting to determine exactly what type of related post should be displayed. And I dug into the code of the plugin, and it turns out that it's just choosing the latest post from the same category. So it's a very simple algorithm. It's not that complex, but if you predominantly use categories as the main taxonomy on your site, then this plugin might be a good choice for you. So I'm just going to click Save Changes and go back to the front end of my site, reload. And if I scroll down to the bottom of the page here, here is the recommended section. You can see that these are nice little card designs and has a nice little box shadow hover effect when I hover over the image, and it looks pretty good. It's just a simple card layout. It's got this nice hover effect with box shadow. And if you click on the post, it'll take you right to that related post from the same category. Like I said, this plugin is quite simple. There's not a lot of configurability, but it's a good way to get up and running with related posts while perhaps you look for a better long-term solution. All right, I'm back in my plugins here. We're going to deactivate Visual Modo related posts. And the next plugin I want to look at is called YARP. Like I said, this is the most popular related posts plugin in the entire repository. And once you activate it, under settings here, you will see a new section called YARP. And we're going to click on that. And as you can tell, this has a lot more settings, a lot more configurability than the first plugin we looked at. So let's quickly go over the options that you have available. So first off, you can choose which post types are actually available to be included in the related posts grid. So I think we're just going to go with posts for my site. That makes the most sense for me. You can also exclude specific categories if you don't want them shown. I'm going to exclude the uncategorized category here. If you had any tags on your site, they would show up here. I personally don't have any tags on the site, so they're not available to choose from. Finally, you can limit it to more recent posts if you want. For example, you could change this to posts only in the past 6 months or even days just to show the very most recent posts. And finally, I'm going to select the option to limit the post to the exact same post type that I'm working with. Typically, you're going to have related types of content in the same post types, and many of you are only going to have the default post types installed anyway. Next up is the algorithm, and this is part of the reason that YARP is quite popular despite some of the shortcomings that we're going to mention later. First up is the match threshold, and this is a calculation of how relevant a post has to be to the current post in order to be displayed in the related posts section. And if you hover over this little tooltip, it'll explain it a bit more. And here you can choose exactly what criteria are going to be used for determining relevance. Now, by default, it's only going to consider tags and categories. However, if you don't frequently use taxonomies on your site, or you have lots of related content across a wide variety of categories, you might want to additionally consider other things, including post titles or post bodies. Now, one thing to realize is if you have a very large site, adding these to the criteria, especially the post body, could slow down your site slightly, but YARP does have a built-in caching engine that once all these posts have been determined for each individual post, it should no longer have any impact on your site speed. Finally, you have the automatic display options. And here you can choose any of the installed post types on which you want to automatically display the related posts at the end of your content. I can't remember what's selected by default, but I just chose posts here. And if you want, you can also display related posts on the front page and category archive pages. I typically don't do something like this on my site, but it's an option. Next, you can choose the maximum number of posts to display. I think anywhere between 3 and 8 is a good option depending on your site. And then you can choose a theme. So the list view, if you did that, it's simply just a bulleted text-based list, not very complex. Next is the thumbnails. This is the view that a lot of people will go with, and this is the type of layout you'll see on media sites across the web. And finally, the custom option allows you to upload your own custom PHP templates. This allows you to exactly customize the content that shows on the front end. It also includes a number of built-in templates. However, I've tested all of them and none of them look particularly good. I don't really see the point of most of these included templates, but something you could look at. So we're just going to go with the thumbnail output for now, and I'm going to choose the medium size, and we're going to go with 4 is the maximum number of posts here. We're going to order the results by relevance, high to low. That makes sense to me. Now you can see the preview window down here. It's supposed to show you how it's going to look on the front end, but this is completely broken for me on my site. And this is just a basic site install, not a lot of plugins to conflict with. So I'm not sure what's going on here. And once you get everything configured the way you like it, you might want to enable in-browser caching, but for now, we're going to just leave that as is. I'm going to click Save Changes, and we're going to go back to the front end here and refresh. And here you can see is the output of YARP. Now, it looks okay. I do have some issues with this. You can see that there's just really not much spacing around these cards, so they just kind of look amateurish. It's taking my featured images, which have a 16:10 aspect ratio, and it's scrunching them down into squares, and also it seems to be distorting the natural aspect ratio a little bit. And when I dig into the code on the front end, I was annoyed to see that they're hard coding a lot of widths of these elements. So if I were to try to undo the CSS and maybe use my own custom CSS, I'd be having to override a bunch of styles that are baked into the plugin. And it's just kind of a pain to do. It's almost easier for me to build my own PHP template from scratch. And unfortunately, YARP doesn't really include an option just to remove their default styles and use your own CSS. So if you don't like the way that this plugin looks on your site, I think you're going to have a hard time customizing it. And that for me is kind of a deal breaker. So if I were to use YARP, I think I would build a custom PHP template, load my own CSS, and just use the plugin for the backend algorithm that determines which post to show. All right, so back in the dashboard, we're going to go and deactivate YARP. And we're going to check out a third plugin, which is called Contextual Related Posts. Now, this plugin is pretty interesting. It has some similar features to YARP, but also some cool other features that if you're one of those people that wants to put related posts inside the content automatically, it can do that as well. So we're going to click and go to Settings here. And there's quite a bit of configuration. So I'm not going to worry about any of the cache settings for now. But first off, you can choose which post types to automatically add related posts to. I'm just going to do it on posts. I typically don't want to put it anywhere else. And if you read into these functions here, this is the critical bit about where on your post these related posts are going to display. And the way this works is you can choose to insert the related post module after a specific number of paragraphs. So if you want it to be after the 4th paragraph on every post, you could simply do that and it would put it right in the middle of your content. Now, if you wanted to go to the end of your post, you have to set it to -1, as it says in the description right here. If for some reason you want to disable the plugin on mobile devices or AMP pages, if you're using Google AMP, that's easy to do with just a text box. And if you have other people working on your site beside yourself and you don't want them to have control over this plugin, you can limit the meta box to admins only. Don't let authors mess around with this. And we're just going to save changes there. Now, the list tuning, this is where you actually configure how and which related posts are going to be displayed. So you can do number of posts to display. It's set to 6 by default. However, I don't have that many posts on my site. I think in each category, I have maybe 3 to 4. So we're just going to go with 3 here. And related posts should be newer then. I'm not going to worry about that. You can order them by relevance or random. I think it makes more sense to order by relevance. Random ordering can actually cause more queries on your site and could slow down larger sites. Now, the way that this plugin determines relevance is primarily based on the title and the content. And by default, that option is checked. It's going to read the title and content for each post and determine what is related to what. If you uncheck it, it'll only consider the post titles, but we're going to leave that checked for now. Now, if you do want to use taxonomies as your primary relevance factor, there's this option down here, and you can turn off contextual matching, which will make it so that the titles and the body text are not the important factor, and instead will consider which of these things you select up here. So if you select tags, it'll consider that for contextual matching, or if you select categories, it depends what you use primarily on your site for your taxonomy. I use categories, so I would elect to do only the same categories. But for now, we're going to use the sort of default matching algorithm, see how it works. And you could also choose to disable contextual matching only on attachments. That's fine. We'll leave that as the default. All right, let's save changes. All right, next up, we'll look at the built-in styles and just go to the style tab here. All right, so in the Styles tab, you can see that there's a number of built-in options for display. So of these options, the ones that sound the best to me are rounded thumbnails, grid, and rounded thumbnails with CSS grid. Now, I tried this one, and for whatever reason, it's giving a fatal error on my site. I'm not sure if this is something that needs to be fixed with the plugin, so that's not going to be an option for now. But we can try instead the basic grid here. And it's some simple card designs, nothing special, but it looks good enough. And this would probably look better maybe with 2 or 4 posts. You can see the third one doesn't quite fit in the line. We could also try the rounded thumbnails option here. A bit more of a box design. This one looks good too. Again, I would probably want to do this in a 4x4 grid would look the best. And finally, an option that this plugin has that I wish Yarp has but doesn't is you can just choose no style. So it's just going to output the elements that you select with no custom CSS, and you can add your own. So if we save that, by default, it doesn't look like much. And you can actually customize the output that's going on the front end. So you can change the heading here. You can determine whether it should show the excerpt or not. I'm electing not to show the excerpt or author. You could show the primary term. They're all in the same category, so maybe we don't need to do that, but we can try that. And then you can customize the HTML the way this can be displayed. Now, I have already customized this. Now, by default, this would just be UL, UL, and LI, LI. I've already customized it, and all I did was just add these class names to these elements. And this is going to allow me to easily target these for some custom CSS so I can create my own design. So I'm going to click Save Changes here. And I'm going to go to the front end. Like I said, it just looks like this because I haven't added the custom CSS yet. But if I go to my additional CSS section here and uncomment this out. All right, so this took me a couple seconds to code this template, but I think it looks pretty good. And because I'm using Flexbox to design this, you can see if I change this to mobile view, these wrap nicely to another line. It's completely responsive. I think it looks pretty good. So if you want this custom CSS, and I think I'll add another one as well. I'm going to design 2 different templates. You can download it for free. You will find a link down in the video description where you can grab that right away. And all you have to do is just add this CSS code to the customizer like I did, or you can put it right in the style tab. There's an option where you can just paste the custom CSS right here, and it'll just only get loaded wherever the related post module is used, and it won't get loaded on other areas of your site. So this is a very good option as well. Now, all of these options are okay, but they all have some drawbacks, and mainly it's around customizability and the way it looks, and you have to mess with custom CSS maybe to make things look exactly how you want. So I want to show you a way that you can build a related post module just using a Gutenberg plugin, design it with blocks, don't touch any custom CSS or code. The only catch is you do need the premium version of this plugin, but this is a fantastic like all-purpose plugin. It's not just for creating related posts, and this is the premium version of Generate Blocks. Now, in order to use this method, there are two things you're going to need. You're going to need the premium version of Generate Blocks, which is maybe a $40 to $50 plugin. I can't remember exactly what they're charging these days. This is a fantastic all-purpose plugin and one that I'm going to be doing a lot of tutorials on going forward. And second, you're going to need a theme where it has some sort of hook-based layouts where you're able to add the module or add these blocks to the end of your content automatically. You could also manually insert them if you just want to do that. And if that was the case, if you're going to be building us on a per post basis, you could actually use the free version of Generate Blocks. We just need premium for one little feature. But I'm going to be using Generate Press, which has a hooks module. I can add stuff anywhere I want, including after the content. And there's tons of other themes that have this capability. Blocksy, Astra, Ocean WP, Genesis Pro. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot more. So if your theme has this capability, this is an option for you. And we're just going to go, I'm going to be doing this through my Elements module because this is the way that I can design hooks using Generate Blocks. But this is just a Generate Press feature. So we're going to go to Elements. And you can see I already have one here, but we're just going to design a new one from scratch. So we're going to go add new element. I'm going to choose a block, create. And again, don't worry about this part. All you need to do is create a reusable block and then figure out how to insert it into your content yourself. So we're just going to start with a query block. And here under Generate Loop Blocks, we're going to use Query Loop. Now, a nice thing about Generate Blocks is it has some built-in templates, so you don't have to start from scratch when you're designing. I'm going to choose this. This looks closest to what I'm trying to design, and then we can tweak it from there. So I'm going to select the 2 columns and featured image layout, and it's already starting to pull it in some posts here. Now, the first thing I want to do is customize the query. So yes, we want to display posts. I think maybe I'm going to do 4 posts per page. Now, we're not going to inherit the query from the template. This is not an archive page. Instead, I'm going to add a parameter. And depending on the taxonomy that you use on your site, you would maybe choose a different one. But I'm going to choose query by taxonomies. And then here under taxonomies, you can choose either category or tags. I would just choose whichever one you use most consistently on your site. If you do a lot of categorization using tags, then tags would be a good option. I have no tags on the site. I'm going to go with categories. And for your select terms, now because this one module is going to be displayed across all the areas of our site, I can't just choose a specific taxonomy. If you wanted to do a separate hook for each of these, you could just use the free version of Generate Blocks. But the reason that I need premium for this example is because it gives me the option to inherit the current post term. So it's going to pull the category from the current post and use that for the query. So we're going to do that. And we're just going to click Publish here. Now, without doing too much design here or anything, I've just created this query, and we're going to say to display it on posts, and we'll say all posts. Again, this is just a Generate Press module. Your theme may have something similar. Oh, I need to choose which hook to add this to. I think we're going to put it after entry content, and we're going to do hook priority of 1. I just want it to be the first thing. Hopefully that will put it above these things right here. So you can see that this module is displaying under the other related custom post module. So let me disable contextual related posts so we can work on this a little bit better. And we're just going to tweak the design really quick. So I think I want to just do away with the excerpt maybe. So we're just going to remove the post excerpt, and I'm going to customize the typography of my title here. So we're going to go, let's see, font size, let's try 20. Font weight, we'll go medium. Can select a text color, just do black. And because it's a link, actually I have to customize the link color there. Now, the underline that's being inherited from my theme has set all links to underline. I could easily undo that with CSS if I wanted. And of course, you could add something like a badge here if you wanted as well. All right, so I think this layout already looks pretty good. One thing we don't have is any spacing between this module and the content above. There's also not a heading that says something like related posts, so that's easy enough to add. We'll just do a headline. Again, this is built into generate blocks. It's kind of like an advanced heading. You can set an HTML tag. I'm going to make this an H3 and just say, you might also like, whoop. And we'll add some margin above this as well. So under the spacing module, you can add some top margin. We'll say 40 pixels, 10 on the bottom. So this looks pretty good. One thing I don't like is there's no link around the actual card. It's just the link right here. I want people to be able to click the whole thing to quickly navigate to other posts on my site. So we can use one of the cool features of WordPress Premium also, which is a container link. You can add, this is the container element. We can add a link right in here. And let's see, dynamic link to the post. Click update. And now you can see the whole container is clickable. And we could also add some sort of hover effect. Maybe we'll do box shadow like we did using CSS on the other. I see what I did there. Okay, we're going to say 12. I don't know how this is going to look. We're just going to check it out. Refresh the page. Fancy. Okay. So that is a quick and easy way to build a related post module from scratch using just Gutenberg blocks. You know, Gutenberg has become such an important part of my workflow, but I know that it can be intimidating or confusing for those of you coming from the classic editor or perhaps a more full-featured page builder like Elementor. So if you want to learn Gutenberg quickly to more efficiently build faster, more beautiful websites, check out these videos right down here. And I'll see you in the next one.